It's time to take a ride on the Steelers Afternoon Drive with our co-hosts Alan Saunders and Zachary Smith.
Welcome back to another episode of Steelers Afternoon Drive. I'm Zachary Smith. That is Alan Saunders on this Mike Monday. Short week this week, playing on Thursday Night Football. So instead of a Tom on Tuesday, we did a Mike Monday. We're going to talk about that a little bit later on. But Alan, how are we doing?
I'm doing good. Short week for everyone. So I just got to cram all of the stories of the entire week into today. So it's hectic, but it's good. We'll get it going.
Shout out to, if you missed it, go back and watch yesterday's post-game show with Alan and Aaron Becker. Shout out to Aaron jumping on his first post-game show. Hey, how do you think Aaron comes from a TV background, huh? So he's pretty good in front of the camera anyway. Like, we don't need to.
Let's be honest. He's way better at this than you and me.
We need him to critique us. Yeah.
Let's just,
the other way around.
Let's just, yeah. I mean, there's. Well, he's good. There's no problems with the television presentation angle of things there.
Okay, very good. Well, go back and watch that if you didn't yet. Still comments, of course, because even after the live ends and stuff like that, you can still comment it just like a normal YouTube video. And while we're on that subject, like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell here if you're watching this episode. But Alan, with it being you and Aaron yesterday, I didn't get to share my thoughts on my perspective of this game yesterday. I went back and watched. Obviously, you guys didn't see it when you were live. Was on the way home. Stuck in the casino for a very long time yesterday, by the way, coming out of that thing.
I've been there before.
No, I'm not playing in the casino whatsoever.
I can't. It's real bad. Can't get out,
Man, even on floor 5, it was still took quite a bit to get out of there. But anyway, let's talk. I want to give my thoughts on this game. First and foremost, the first thing that I thought of, and I mentioned this on the Friday preview show with DB, is I wasn't necessarily saying that it was a key matchup for me to watch, but I was most excited to see how guys like Patrick Queen and Deshaun Elliott would respond in this environment, now being on the other side of this, wanting to play that villain perspective. And Patrick Queen, what an impact he continues to make for this team, just getting better as the weeks go by, more and more comfortable, and played his role perfectly. I mean, him having a key takeaway in this game couldn't be more poetic than that. And obviously the praise that was heaped on. Another guy that I want to highlight individually is Nick Herbig, announced with the start. They announced him and Preston Smith as starters. Nick Herbig played way more than Preston Smith did in this one. He played 80% of the snaps, which was a heavier workload than I expected to see for Nick in this one, and I thought he responded well. But to make the impact that he did right off the jump, too, 45 seconds into this thing, ripping the ball away from Derrick Henry to set them up in field goal range and give them 3 points right away. A guy like Payton Wilson making a splash play on an interception that is just like, it's so I put up the side-by-side videos of Devin Bush's interception in 2019, taking the ball away from Mark Andrews, this one taking the ball away from Justice Hill down the field. And, Payton Wilson, again, he's a rookie, just seems to continue to get better and better as the weeks go by. And I think continuing to get better, especially in coverage. As obviously the defensive performance as a whole. And by the way, something that I learned in this game, and maybe learned a hard lesson. Obviously, I want to do this with a W as the outcome anyway. But no matter what the Ravens offense looks like, no matter how good the Steelers offense had been playing the last few weeks, it's Steelers Ravens. I should have known that to stick to that script as opposed to what the season out standings would tell me or stats would tell me this game should be, because I thought there would be a bunch of points scored in this one. It's Steelers Ravens. I should have known what this game was going to look like. But against my better judgment, I said they were going. My bold prediction on around the 4-2 is this would go 10 points over the over under set at 48.5. Clearly that did not happen in this football game. But anyways.
Yeah, I thought the Steelers defense was really good, man. Patrick Queen was the best player on the field, bar none. And that's incredible.
Will this finally answer people? Because I mentioned even after the Commanders game, right? There were some people that were they gave up 27, that you can't let them double dip right before half and then after half. Still had questions about the defense. Man, I don't know what those questions could be after this one to hold that Ravens team down the way that they did. I mean, great performance.
Yeah. They won the game on defense and with Chris Boswell, but I mean, I think the defense won the game. And there's a whole bunch of guys you can point to, and I think you hit some of them. How about Joey Porter? 0
Oh,
receptions.
sure. Yeah, absolutely. Were
And
you surprised though that it was primarily like Bateman? Like the routes
no,
were most that he saw?
no, they
Okay.
move Flowers around too much for that. Like I expected it to be Bateman. Bateman primarily plays outside, and it's not a good matchup for Bateman. Like, you know, that was that's a win ahead of time for the Steelers. But I really thought he was good. Landon Roberts was really good. I thought like Keanu Benton was really good. Dean Lowry had a couple big, like, you could go down it.
Yeah.
That's it. The thing about this game that I think is the most impressive is the Steelers shut down one of the best offenses in the league. They shut down the best quarterback in the league, maybe an MVP. Derrick Henry, half of his average yards per game. They got 1 sack from TJ Watt and no turnovers from Watt, Hayward, or Fitzpatrick. They did it like, I mean, not to say that their stars played badly, but this was not like the stars taking over. This was like as total team of a defensive effort as you can get. And they were just dominant.
Yeah. No, I mean that's a good point too. And I think to your point about Joey Porter Jr. and I just mentioned that it was Bateman that he saw the most routes. Like, how about the group then that was covering Zay Flowers, because he was not noticeable in this game until the ball smacked right off of his face mask. And then obviously he caught a late touchdown, but like up until that point, you could have told me he wasn't playing. I would have believed.
Gave up a catch. I don't think Cam Sutton gave up. Like, it was a really really good game for almost everyone on the Steelers defense. Almost everyone. A couple big plays. Herbig did give up the one read option. Minka got beat by Likely on a play action, and I don't even remember. I'd have to go back and rewatch. I only rewatched the Steelers offense, but somebody missed an assignment on that long Derrick Henry run. But I mean, it was really, really good a really, really good defensive performance. And like you were saying about Patrick Queen, like, can we ease up on the well, they haven't played anybody yet in terms of their defense anyway. Like, this defense is really good. Like, they've been the number 2 defense in the league most of the year. I think we can start to take the asterisk away from that. Like, this was an offense that averaged 31.8 points per game coming in, and they did half that. Like, that's a really good offense. That's a really good offense. I don't think we need any more caveats when we're talking about how dominant the Steelers defense is.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, all the credit in the world to Nick Herbig playing a lot more snaps than I thought he was going to. Preston Smith played like 13, 17, somewhere within that range. Like, Jeremiah Moon only played a few. So like Nick Herbig playing 80% of the snaps and playing them the way that he did. Because I was going to mention the one thing about this defense, didn't have Alex Highsmith. You could only imagine like they could have been even better potentially if they had him on the field as well. So but yeah, I want to flip things, obviously, talk about the offensive performance, because they were moving the ball somewhat well, but the red zone continues to be a struggle for them. And you threw out a take that I don't necessarily think is a hot take of seeing more Justin Fields, because I think, to me, that was the one thing yesterday really about this offense that was my number one takeaway, was like, it was a little bit odd to me, the utilization. Like, okay, they bring him in for a QB run on a 2nd and 11, but you're not willing to throw him out there on like a 3rd and 1 or a 4th and 1 to try to get a QB sneak. Didn't see him in the red zone really. They tried to have him, ice the game, slid a little bit early on that one. Then they had to hand it to Najee to do so. But so like we saw him a little bit, but not necessarily the moments where I would have utilized him as well. Like, I would have done it even more. And maybe that's coming, but there really felt like there was a lot of opportunity yesterday to see him on the field that they just didn't take advantage of.
Yeah. I think I was a little, I got my bold prediction right, which was the only part of my prediction that was right at all. That Justin Fields was going to play with Russell Wilson on the sideline. And even then, I don't think I would have envisioned it being in the way that he was used, right? I'm only kind of taking credit for that, like a little bit, because that's not the way I would use him. 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1 from the 49-yard line. That's when I would use Justin Fields. 1st and goal at the 5. That's when I would use Justin Fields. I mean, certainly he's capable of running the clock out, and I think his presence is just a help. Even when all he did was hand the ball off to Najee Harris on the last play, he gets it by a foot, and some defender had to account for Justin Fields. That probably is the difference between getting that and not getting it. But yeah, man, use them with your full chest. Like, I don't know. That was just such a strange, like, token effort that I think it confused me more than not using him would.
Yeah. So like, we're on the same page though, in terms of, like I said, you put out a take that you feel like probably isn't really a hot take or shouldn't be a hot take on Twitter. Like the red zone is an area to me where you should certainly be seeing him. Also, like we mentioned the short yardage stuff, but certainly in the red zone too. I think that's the one area that's where they've gotten worse going from Justin to Russ, and not saying like over the course of the rest of the season it's going to continue to be that way, but at least so far it has been. The one thing that they had in the red zone, right, was if nobody's open, Justin can at least create with his legs a little bit more and make something happen. That's why they were able to be more successful in that area of the field.
Yeah, I put this on Twitter. Steelers 8 touchdowns, 1 field goal on Fields' 11 drives inside the 10-yard line, 4 touchdowns, 5 field goals, and Wilson's 11 drives inside the 10-yard line. Just saying, like, hey, you got to use them in the red zone. And I'm shocked at like how many people have vehemently disagreed with this idea. I don't get it. I remember, wasn't it just like 4 weeks ago when like 3/4 of the fan base was like, no, you can't ever take Justin Fields out of the game. And now you apparently cannot ever take Russell Wilson out for one play. And so I don't know. Like, I'm not sure why that's controversial at all. I mean, I don't say it has to happen every time, but first and goal at the 5, yeah. 3rd and 4th and 1, yeah. Like put him in there. I don't know what. Like, why waste that guy on your team? That guy who's probably the best pure athlete on the 53-man roster. I don't understand why you would want to not use him.
And that's what I'm saying. I'm not pounding the table to, see Justin a ton each game or saying he should be the starting quarterback over Russell Wilson at this point or anything like that. But I just feel like there are opportunities throughout yesterday's game where I was like, this is a Justin Fields moment right here. This is where we should see part of this package that they have for him come to fruition. And the fact that we didn't see him, I thought was a big part of the problem for this offense, because yesterday, like I said, I thought they moved the ball relatively okay, but like on the weighty downs, they weren't good. We saw like terrible on 3rd down yesterday, and then really bad in the red zone. Like in those moments, that is where the offense wasn't able to get it done for one reason or another, whether it was shooting themselves in the foot with a penalty that would back them up or just bad execution, not getting their blocks, whatever it was. 3rd down, and when they got in the red zone, they just were not good yesterday.
Yeah. And they were just coming up like 1 yard short a whole bunch too.
Yes.
And so like, I don't think it would take, it's not like I think they just need to like, scrap the whole thing and start over again. Like I just think they need a little bit. And I think in some ways, Justin Fields could provide that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't know. And again, like we weren't seeing it, and then we did see it yesterday. So there's maybe more that's within there. But again, felt like a missed opportunity to me yesterday, where this game, Alan, to me felt like it should have been. I mean, the Ravens were begging the Steelers for quite a while in this one to run away with it, and the Steelers just were not able to do so. And it remained a ball game right until the Steelers got that last first down from Najee Harris, because when they gift you Derrick Henry fumble early, Justin Tucker misses 2 field goals. You get that ridiculous play from Payton Wilson. You get the punch out from Patrick Queen right before half to take the lead into half when it looked like you were ready to go down by a point, or go into the half down by a point. Like, there were so many times in this game where I just felt like the Ravens are just begging you to punch it in for 6 instead of settle for 3, and the Steelers just couldn't do it.
Yeah, I talked to Dan Moore after the game, and he was like, "Yeah, I mean, this game shouldn't have been close. If they had been more efficient, it wouldn't have been close. They could have easily ran away with it." And while that's not great, the fact that they continue to find a way to win 2-0 when they don't score a touchdown, it might be my favorite stat of all time.
Rest of the league has 2, right? So
I think it's a really good sign for what they're doing working. They're not like that wasn't even average offense compared to what they're capable of, and they won that game. And they won it fair. Like, I don't want to say easily. Like, they needed that 2-point stop at the end, but I mean, they were up 8 with 2 minutes left. Like, that's you win a whole. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but up 8 with 2 minutes left. I'm betting you win about 80-90% of the time.
Well, yeah, and especially like I trusted the Steelers defense even when it came down to that. I was like, even if they give up a touchdown here, I feel really good about them being able to stop that 2-point conversion. I don't know what happened on the Baltimore side of things on that 2-point conversion. By the way, apparently that was supposed to be a QB run the entire time, but like he goes out there and you don't even have a guy like making a threat of running a route to that side because of whatever's going on with Likely and Aguilar. Like they were like pushing each other and trying to get each other in the right
it was
spot.
a run all the way, and Nick Herbig just single-handedly completely obliterated the entire thing.
Yeah.
I mean, he just made the whole play not work. He took 4 guys out on that play because there's somebody in front of him, but they're going to block down. So the person in front of him is going to block the guy to his left, and the person that's supposed to be blocking to him is to his right. And then there's 2 pullers, right? He hits the guy in front of him before he can get off his release. The guy to the side is trying to block him, but he can't, and he blocks his guy into the 2 pullers. So there are 4 guys. Joey Porter Jr. is out here like, I guess you're coming this way because there's nobody else over here. There's supposed to be a guard and a center uncovered coming around the end that could have both accounted for Joey Porter Jr. and made that a walk-in touchdown. And instead, Nick Herbig just dynamited the entire thing. We did have a locker room availability today. Not very many players in there, and we'll get more to that a little bit here with our question we got. But I talked to Nick Herbig, and I asked him, did he get the ball from his punch out? And he pointed to it. It's sitting in the bottom of his locker. It's there. And I said, well, Beanie got his autographed by Aaron Rodgers. Are you going to try to get Derrick Henry to autograph that? And he goes, no, I don't do that cute stuff.
I don't know that Derek would oblige anyway, but
I don't know either. Yeah. But I was like, to me, that right there is the best way to describe the difference between a linebacker and a defensive back.
Yeah,
that's all I got.
I want to start. We've talked about the special teams. I feel like quite a bit, at least recently. But certainly in this one, where it's like that plays obviously the prominent role, along with obviously the defense. I feel like we got to highlight it even more. Mike Tomlin highlighted it more this week as well in his availability. But Chris Boswell, the second game this year where he's had 6 field goals, which if he does it again at some point this year will be the most in a single season. He's on pace to break the record for the most field goals made in a season. I mean, just an outstanding season that Chris Boswell is having, not that far removed from a year where people were like trying to push him out because he was dealing with a groin injury and stuff like that. And people thought that he was done in a way that now they're having a conversation in Baltimore about Justin Tucker. But it's like game in and game out when you can rely on him, what a weapon that is. And it's not just Chris, right? Like it's just the special teams as a whole. You feel like every game the Steelers have a massive advantage in that department.
Yeah, I thought Tomlin's comments about Corliss Waitman today as the holder were really prescient there. He's been doing a really nice job as a guy who came in the middle of the season. The whole field goal operation has been working really well. Christian Kuntz and the guys who block. But man, I mean, to me, I think right now, like Chris Boswell's an all-pro kicker. Like how do you vote? How do you vote for anybody else? And I think I guess Fairbairn has a good number of kicks, but like man,
where's Brandon Aubrey at?
Well, he's in the other conference, so
Yeah. Oh, so yeah. Sorry, I thought we were looking at overall. Yeah.
So like you pick your all pros by conference, and
sure.
I mean Aubrey's very good, but it's got to be Boswell right now for me. The fact that his only miss has been a 62-yarder.
What game was that again? Was that the Chargers? Was that the home opener, or was it the Cowboys? It was one of those two.
Yeah. But perfect on field goals under 60. All like the field goal stats, all like they're separated like 0 to 29, 30 to 39, 40 to 49, 50 plus. We need a new column. We need a 60 plus to get those out of there, and then just do the 59 and unders. Boz perfect.
Yeah, I mean, in this day and age, like you're having a lot of kickers at least try from 60 plus. I feel like that should be separated in that way.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, whether it is the field goal, whether it is the punting, just like the coverage units have been better. They've obviously gotten some splash in the return game with Calvin Austin even having a touchdown this year. They've blocked a ton of kicks. I just feel like the special teams as a whole has given them a huge boost this year, and credit to Danny Smith in that staff, as well as the players. Anything else from the game before we get into more from Tomlin stuff today?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Well, first thing, you mentioned, we already kind of talked about the Waitman stuff that he brought up in the special team stuff, but we always like to talk about the injuries. A couple things to come out of the game that we maybe had some concern for, right, was Joey Porter Jr. obviously left at one point, which is really weird because it was like he was the intended, like he was on the coverage of it, broke up the play, and then everybody's like standing around for a second, and then they just like tell him to sit down, and he sits down, but nothing there with Joey Porter Jr., right?
Yeah, he's fine. Keanu Benton also, who did come out of the game and did not go back in, also is going to be fine with that left knee injury. That's huge because Steelers don't have a lot of depth on the defensive line. Might be a game where they might try to get Braden Fehoko up. I feel like I'm the boy who cried wolf when it comes to that. But given the fact that they only have 5 on the 53 and Benton's going to go into it banged up, could see that. And then left the door open for Corey Trice this week, which, considering a short week, usually people who didn't play the week before, you say, no, not this week. But Corey was really close. I think he actually is healthy. I think it's just a matter of them finding a spot for him on the roster and figuring out what they're going to do with special teams if that spot involves cutting James Pierre. I'm not sure it needs to at this point, but we'll see how things go in that regard. With Henderson on injured reserve, I think it does give them a little bit more flexibility than they had.
We were talking about special teams there just now as well. I want to give a shout out to Ben Skronik. I think he's been fantastic in his role, like especially some of the stuff that they were asking him to do yesterday. Like as a blocker, they had him lining up at fullback at times. Like, has he taken? Do you think he's passed Connor Hayward in that role within this offense?
No, because it's different. It's like a whole different thing. I don't know what to call that. What Connor Hayward does is very different than what they're having Skronik do. I don't know. It's like just a new wrinkle that they've added that they didn't have before, which is awesome.
Yeah. I guess what I'm asking more so than like that specific thing is like, because I feel like we haven't seen a ton of Connor within that. So like lining up back there, like, so are we even going to continue to see that? Skronik played 20-some snaps yesterday, and they obviously weren't all out there. They also really like him as a blocker on the outside, and I do too. And they had the one where he came around and made this really nice seal, like a double block with Darnell on a really nice run that they had.
Is that the Najee screen? I think he had a good block on that too, didn't he?
Yeah. So I mean, I guess more so what I'm asking then, okay, is he maybe not taking Connor's role, but do you think we're going to continue to see Skronik utilized within the offense the same way as yesterday, like 20-some snaps, or was that just like a one-off?
It wouldn't really surprise me. I think he provides a lot of blocking ability, especially without Pruitt in there. I think he kind of took a good amount of Pruitt's reps. More than anybody else. And so we'll see if Pruitt plays this week. I think 20 is probably a little high, but it wouldn't surprise me if he's routinely in the like
it's actually 26,
10 to 15 range.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, the Pruitt thing's a good shout too, but you mentioned you think he's potentially in that same boat as Corey Trice, or a little bit more doubtful than Trice?
Could play. We'll see. He did not. Like, Trice was a full participant in practice last week. I'm very confident Trice is healthy. I'm not so sure about Pruitt. We'll see.
Okay. And then, of course, we're not expecting to have Alex Highsmith back for this one, but obviously we're going to have
talk to Smitty today. He's still limping a little bit. Trying for the Bengals game. We'll see if that's possible or not.
I said there was 2 things when I brought up the Skronik special. The reason that I wanted to go back to the Benton thing and Fehoko was because this again just seems like a matchup that would make sense. Obviously, even more so if Benton's a little bit banged up. But, Tomlin, as complimentary as he was to Mr. Jackson, now we got Mr. Chubb this week on a short week, who is the focal point of that offense, at least when it comes to the way that Mike Tomlin's viewing that offense. So you'd think that he'd want some more, bigger bodies, especially when one of those guys is in at full health.
Yeah. And I thought Dean Lowry did a really nice job. Maybe his best game against the Ravens, but he's not a nose tackle. Like if they want to play base defense and they lose Benton, they do not have another nose tackle. They'd have to play somebody out of position. And I think this has traditionally been a game where they play a lot of base defense. So I would want to have a second nose tackle dressed if I was the Steelers.
Yeah. Anything else from Mike Monday that was worth mentioning?
Just talked about his belief that Mike Williams is going to continue to get a bigger role. I know a lot of people were commenting and consternation about his lack of a role in the offense. Tomlin very confident, also very confident that he's going to keep playing Broderick Jones. What was your thoughts when you rewatched the game, or maybe how did rewatching it for you change what you felt about Broderick Jones? Because I have some thoughts, but I want to hear what you think about his game. 2 penalties, gave up a sack, drew some negative attention, but what were your thoughts?
So here's the thing. I only watched it live. I haven't been able to watch it back.
Okay.
A Monday at work, I really don't have the opportunity to do so on most Mondays. So I haven't watched it back. Obviously live, like I don't know. I didn't like the one penalty call. I didn't like the one holding call out of them. I think it was the second of the back-to-backs where he had like a holding call 2 plays in a row or whatever. I didn't like the second one. But I mean, as a whole, the offensive line only allowed they had I think a lot of people over thoughts, or I don't know what the word I'm looking for there. Like they attributed Russell Wilson's poor play yesterday a lot to the offensive line. And I don't think that was necessarily the case. They allowed, a 30% pressure rate. It was like 17th in the league out of quarterbacks that played yesterday. Like it was pretty average performance in that regard. Broderick on his own, I'm honestly I can't really speak to without watching it back.
Yeah, a lot of people were very up in arms about his play, and I thought it was fine. I thought the 2 penalties were what they were, and they were both holds. One of them probably didn't need to be called, but that was a crew that likes to be ticky-tack with holding penalties. And I thought just like he kicked butt. Like he was in the middle of every scrum and at the bottom of every pile, just being a gigantic pain in the ass. And like, isn't that what you want? Like, I don't know. That's what
actually, I'd like to stick on that point for a second with Broderick, obviously himself too, but like how quickly Zach Frazier and Mason McCormick have inserted themselves into this rivalry now as well too. Like, I mean, it did not take them long to fit in with Steelers Ravens.
Not at all. Boy, and that was the morning rush this morning, was talking about Zach Frazier, but like he was just giggling like a little kid after the game. Like when I was interviewing him about like the first game in the rivalry and did it live up to it, and it was like the first time you took your nephew to the county fair, man. He was like, "This is just the best thing in the world, and I love every minute of it." It was awesome.
Yeah. So, I thought just from like a temperament standpoint, sure. That's a good point about Broderick too, because he was involved. Certainly it all kickstarted. I don't even know what was happening down the field, but Zach Frazier and was it Roquan? Him and somebody got tangled up.
Kyle
and then
Hamilton and Marlon Humphrey were the 2 guys they were going after, which is interesting. Marlon actually really dirty, like cut block Frazier at the very end of a play. Like the runner was already down, the whistle hadn't blown yet, and he cut him. And I think that's what really flared it up after that. But
Pat was in the mix with a lot of things.
Pictures from Ed Thompson in our photo gallery where it's just like face mask, face mask, face mask, face mask, pushing.
Yeah.
Like you can't even really see people. It's just aggression. I love it.
We had that conversation about how this rivalry stacks up, not just within teams in the division, but also just within the entire NFL, being the best rivalry out of them. But we see another division rival, Alan, in our next game on Thursday night. And we had a question regarding what that week of preparation and just the outlook for the entire week looks like. So Christopher Sexton asked on YouTube, which, by the way, get in a question if you would like your question to be answered on here, said, what does a normal Thursday night football game week look like? Obviously a short week, everything like that. What does it look like from a practice perspective? How do they prepare for something like this?
Yeah, so it's tough, man. It's, I'm in the locker room last night trying to interview players, and they're talking to each other about like, okay, how early can we get in the building tomorrow? Like that's like usually players don't come into the building at all unless they're hurt the day after a game. They were all there this morning at like 7 a.m. in some cases, watching their film, getting some treatment. No practice today, but so today is film treatment meetings kind of day. And then tomorrow will be their one like normal day, where tomorrow is Tuesday. It'll be like a normal Thursday where they don't have the Wednesday practice, which is kind of usually the more physical one. They'll do their Thursday practice tomorrow, and then Friday, what is normally their Friday practice will happen on Wednesday before they leave for Cleveland, and then they'll do a walkthrough, which they normally do on Saturday, Thursday during the day. So basically, like Thursday is Saturday, Wednesday is Friday, Tuesday is Thursday in terms of like where we are in the normal week. And today is sort of like Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday all put together. And so no real Wednesday, but Monday and Tuesday for sure.
What was the quote from Tomlin? Something about like he's got to fit in 8 pounds.
8 pounds of potatoes in a 5-pound bag. Heck yeah.
My God. What a guy. What about post Thursday night? Like, so what does it look like from that point on? Because like I said, you got kind of like a mini bye. So what will after Thursday look like? Like when do they have Friday off? Like, and then do they not come back until
I think they'll have like maybe almost like they'll probably have 3 days off they'll probably have 3 days off after the Thursday night game. Yeah. And come back to work on Monday.
Okay. So that'll be nice. I mean, you can't love having to play Thursday after playing on Sunday. I think a lot of guys are pretty vocal about that. But then afterwards, especially if you can get through that, like if the Steelers can go out there Thursday, get that win, go to 9-2, then have that little mini bye. I mean, I think the vibes are going to be very high. So good stuff there. Appreciate the question, Christopher. And of course, like I said, leave a comment down below with your question. We'll certainly get to it on the show. Alan, tell the people they can find you.
At @Saunders_PGH on X, Instagram, and TikTok, and Blue Sky. PGH Steelers Now on all those places. SteelersNow.com is where the words live. Read them so I can get paid. And then use promo code Allen10 to get 10% off an annual subscription to SN Plus so you can read all the stories, all the best stuff from me, DB, Aaron Becker, Chris Ward, and the whole gang with no ads, which is the best way to read them, because who wants ads? Nobody. I don't want them. You don't want them. Sign up. Cheap. One trip to Wendy's. Wendy's is going to come after me at some point if I keep using that.
Yeah, why they always the example?
I have to, maybe I should. It's half a Permani's Danger Rush sandwich. Maybe we'll go something else like that. Like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications here on the YouTube channel so you don't miss an episode of Afternoon Drive, Morning Rush, Sights and Sounds from Practice, Locker Room Interviews, Post Game, and our new Steelers Spotlight show with Aaron Becker on Saturdays. Make sure you don't miss that. He'll have a guest this Saturday. I don't know who it is yet because this is a weird week, and we'll figure it out as we go, but there will be a show. I promise.
$4 a month, right? That's like, I don't know, a seventh of Five Guys. So
yeah, there you go. Yeah.
You keep going to the Wendy's route. I keep going to the Five Guys route. But anyways, how you feeling about Blue Sky? By the way, you mentioned Blue Sky within there. How you feeling about the app?
It's just like Twitter. I don't know. It's the same.
That's how I feel. I feel like it's like an OG, like an old version of Twitter, though, like the original Twitter. Before it was X. Anyways, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, hit us in the comments, like I said, with your thoughts on anything we talked about. Question for a future episode, we will get to that on here. If you're listening somewhere else, Apple, Spotify, wherever your podcast from, be sure to leave us a 5-star review. Subscribe over there. Just search Steelers Afternoon Drive. Do the same thing on TikTok and follow us over there. And then you can find me everywhere, Zachary Smith, PGH, for Alan Saunders and myself. Thanks for jumping in and taking another ride on the Steelers Afternoon Drive.